Since February 2018, the crack team consisting of an old hipster, a rookie, and Tyrod Taylor's biggest fan record from a secret location in the heart of Scotland. Their aim is to try and dissect all things NFL. If you want their opinion, and if you can find them, this is the American Fitbaw Cast.
To the American Fitbaw Cast. How can we help?
Our new answer phone message that will go in on some number that people are allowed to call, not one of these dodgy 0901s that we get money back for or something.
And the problem is, you phone us, we probably can't help with anything either. So
hence why we just had to get technical sport in, eh?
So before we get going, I think it's fair that we give a shout out to Stoby from the Fair City podcast, who's came and saved us with our technical difficulties, and oh my god, it was an absolute disaster from us.
That's 20 minutes of sitting here googling how can we make this work.
So yeah, expect a short episode today.
Turns out that all you needed was 2 fingers to reset a phone. Who knew?
Who knew? 2 fingers solves everything. Makes you feel better instantly.
You weren't half shitting yourself though, you just bricked your phone. Just like dead, wasn't doing anything. It's like completely broken phone. What a nightmare.
So I'm here with my usual co-hosts. Andrew, how have you been?
Yeah, good mate, yeah.
Surviving, is my aim. Steve?
Much better than last week. Last week I think it was a bit stressy to begin with. I think it was already after the first few minutes.
Yeah,
Today I was almost the same. 1 o'clock not meeting because we're not at work. It's just been cancelled. So yeah, all's good in the hood.
And we can safely say we're all doing better than Alex Smith.
oh yes.
Double leg break.
Fuck.
Basically, I've got 2 knees. My ankle's facing the wrong direction.
What was it? His fibula and his tibia.
Yeah,
both broke. Oh my god.
2 bones in his leg.
God.
I mean, I was able to diagnose that one straight away.
it was in the WhatsApp chat before I'd seen it, and then Sky were a bunch of pussies and decided not to show it, which was really annoying.
Scott Hansen was loving it though. He was like, "Let's have a replay." Red Zone were all over it.
Brilliant.
It was weird because it didn't look that bad initially, but then when you actually seen it on the replay, I was like, oh my good
Spaghetti
god.
shin.
Yeah. Like it just looked like a normal tackle, and then I was like, oh my god, what is that? His legs turned to jelly.
So complete statistical spookery with that one, wasn't that?
Yeah, do you want to enlighten us?
Nah, Steve can do it.
Right, so
I forgot the dude's name.
Joe Theismann, Washington Redskins quarterback of old, had the exact same injury. Not only was it the same injury, it happened on the same day, on the same yardage line of the field, and the score in the game was the same as well. Then
the final score.
Final score, 23-21. How many years ago was it? 33 years ago. Both things have happened. It's so spooky.
Did you see the other one?
What was that one?
So, J.J. Watts, 3 times...
Oh, about the defensive player. Is that on this
the
one?
Only,
yeah.
the only other person ever to have won the defensive player 3 times.
That's it. Yeah.
One was the guy that broke Theismann's leg as
LT.
well. Yeah.
Was it Lawrence Taylor?
Must have been. I can't think of who else the fuck it would be. Both quarterbacks are the right leg snapped by the only 2 3-time defensive player of the year winners in NFL history. Talk about Edie. No, it must be.
That is.
Yeah, it's that's a Giants player all over him.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that says 56. So yeah.
Yes, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah,
just a little bit. Yeah.
So
you're thinking he might not come back though?
I think he's done. I think.
What age is he?
32.
34? Oh no, I would have put him at 33 or 34. I think he's
early 30s anyway.
Yeah.
So
had he could have had another couple of years anyway. I would have thought. Steady as you go type bridge quarterback Sitch.
I gave him 2. Wait, did you just say Sitch?
Situation.
Okay.
It wasn't like down to the kids, yo.
Okay.
Not the old guy anymore. Sorry, where the fuck that came from?
Fucking hell. Okay. Plumbing new depths on the American Fitbaw Cast this week.
Lilo and
Apologies.
Sitch.
Lilo and Sitch. Who's Lilo? Gav.
I've lost my thoughts altogether. Yeah, so I think
He's sleep deprived because of Monday night. It's still not caught up.
Must be.
He's catching up with me today. That
Is it?
I got up at.
I bet you were suffering yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm glad I didn't. My original idea was I would go to bed early, I would get up and watch it live, and then go back to bed before coming to work. And my wife said, "Don't be so stupid. Record it, get up at 4 o'clock, and then watch it before you go to work."
And that's why women are smart and we're not.
Exactly.
Much smarter.
Yeah. So I got up at 4 o'clock and watched the Rams-Chiefs game yesterday morning, and oh my god, it was worth it.
Highest scoring Monday Night Football of all time.
Third highest scoring game, the first game where both sides have scored 50 points. Patrick Mahomes threw 6 touchdowns and lost.
That's ridiculous.
Now, that has happened, and actually it was only 3 years ago that it happened last time, when Eli Manning threw 6 against the Saints, but Drew Brees threw 7. So...
Somebody put up it was oddly reminiscent of the Broncos v Cowboys game. I want to say about 4 years ago,
Was
the
that
beginning of the season.
Was that?
It was in Texas and it finished something like
Was that like 51-48?
48-45.
Yeah.
It was it was
Wow.
really high scoring like that, and it was Manning got 7 touchdowns. Romo, I think he got 5, but it was just a shootout non-stop. That was the year Manning went and destroyed records.
Yeah.
Mahomes very much on track to equal, I think, at the pace he's going at.
You know what though? Those two quarterbacks were both awesome. I know they had interceptions and fumbles and picks, but the two of them just played so good. Both had over 400 yards.
It was insane. There were a few things actually that disappointed me in this game. Not from... The actual game itself was incredible and I love watching it, but what disappointed me was the amount of penalties that the Chiefs gave away at the start of the game. There were something like 70 penalty yards in the first quarter, which was insane. What are you doing?
I think there was.
Yeah.
I think
There was one-
No, I've just started the second quarter, and the 8th penalty against the Chiefs has just happened.
Is that
I'm
the
like
one
literally a
that
minute.
Reed successfully challenged though?
I
So there was a
don't-
PI
that's when-
in the
yeah,
end
so that's when
zone,
it switched off, I
and he
think.
challenged it because the ball was tipped on the way through.
Yeah, right. Aye. So I haven't seen it being reviewed then, so that's what I'm at. So spoiler alert, and what happens
okay,
next.
so
Good.
it gets overturned, that one.
It's fine. I literally I woke up in the morning and I flicked on the phone and I was looking at the score and I was like, fuck, and what the
And then the other thing, well, actually, it was 2 things that annoyed me after the 2-minute drill at the end of the game. Mahomes' 2 interceptions, I just think that he's got to be better than that. But what the fuck was McVay doing with those play calls when the Rams had the ball back? So he was calling pass plays. So one of them got knocked down, so that's the ball dead. All he had to do was ideally get a first down and win the game, but do it by running the ball, take the time off the clock, and make the Chiefs use their timeouts. So what happened was the Chiefs ended up with the ball, 50 seconds left to play, and still a timeout.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that came out after it. Sean McVay said Todd Gurley got injured in the first quarter. So he actually played that full game injured. He rolled over his ankle in the first quarter. So I think Gurley had his worst game of the season in terms of yards rushing. And they maybe just didn't trust, is it Mac Brown, their backup, to get the job done. So
Did have a few good plays, the backup, during the course of the game.
I'll see if we can bring up his stats. So he had 4 rushes for 15 yards.
Okay.
So
very middling, kind of sort of numbers I'd throw up, I think.
and yeah, I think.
But what that says, if you gave him the ball 3 times, he'd get you a first down.
All things being equal.
Yes, just about, yeah. Good. So it's actually
That's assuming all
perfectly
things.
average.
Yeah,
We don't know whether it was one big play at 8 yards, and obviously averages are averages. So that's,
yeah,
but
totally.
yeah, I don't know. I think considering they had so much success with the pass, maybe he's just trying to get that.
Yeah, I just think
be
in
aggressive.
that situation it was flawed.
Well, he won the game, so he probably thinks you're flawed.
Yeah, he won the game.
Sean McVay
but
thinks Andrew Smith is flawed.
He did give Mahomes another chance. He didn't have to give him another chance.
You're right. Well, yeah, it could have been the same outcome though had the run been stopped. You're assuming that the run gets the first down.
Yeah, but if it hadn't been stopped, then the Chiefs wouldn't have a timeout.
True. Yeah. So
having not seen it, I get the logic that Andrew's talking about. The fact, but when you were describing it to me yesterday morning, you came in and you said, "What game did it?" But I tell you what, and then you just went into the last 2 minutes in great depth, which is brilliant. And I was just like, "What the hell is going on?" In fact, 3 possession changes in the last 2 minutes in 1 minute 30 or something. Shouldn't happen in any game. You know, well, turnover, whatever, that would make sense, but like legitimate turnover, not just a Hail Mary into the end zone and hope for the fucking best.
I think one thing, obviously, just to speak about this game as well, or 2 things actually. I forgot what I was going to say. That was it. The defences both actually played pretty good considering the score. It wasn't like they were getting torched, with blown coverages or missed tackles. There was a lot of really good offensive play. There was a lot of really good defensive play. There was defensive turnovers. There was fumbles. There was interceptions. There was sacks. It literally had everything in this game.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was all offense and just 2 stinking defenses.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the Rams. Rams got a defensive touchdown. Who's number 50 for the Rams? I can't remember. That's who it was.
Yes, Samuel Ekball.
Yeah, did you not have 2 defensive?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Through the game.
So those people played really good. And a fun stat that I came across on the game, I'm sure you've seen it as well. And Donald, 72% of his snaps, he is double teamed.
That's ridiculous.
And he is still the sack leader.
It's incredible.
14 and a half in the season already.
Absolutely incredible.
I mean, interior linemen aren't meant to get any more than about 5 or 6 sacks in a season just because of the way they play. They're more run stuffing and don't get that penetration in the O-line. Yeah, but by Christ, does he do something on the next level? It's insane.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how good he is. The only other thing I want to speak about was Tyreek Hill. I do like Tyreek Hill. 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Is he close to being considered as one of the best wide receivers in the league?
Oh, interesting.
I think he maybe doesn't get the credit because he isn't the spectacular catch kind of guy.
Yeah.
Generally,
so
he's sprint past everyone and, hey, I've got the whole backfield to myself.
He to me is what Deshaun Jackson has been for about the last 10 years, or best part of 10 years. He's been the one that will tear down the field and get 50-yard bomb after 50-yard bomb, but you'd much rather have a Julio Jones or a Larry Fitz or someone with really solid hands. Would you rather have
Fitzgerald over Hill?
No, I'm talking about safe hands, possession receivers and whatever. Odell Beckham, he's almost the middle ground perfectly in between the both. But I know what you mean, yeah, I know where you're going. You're right, he doesn't get enough love. I
was just going to say, let's not get into the Steve Houserath.
Oh, ranking? No, God, I can't rank. I think that's been firmly established.
You're like, he's below Jamison Crowder.
I'll just refer back to my Jameis Winston as a pretty solid quarterback from, episode maybe 10, and we eventually in about 5 minutes realised that there was only maybe 3 teams that would probably take him, and I've been proven well right by you two, how wrong I was on that.
Which leads us on to the Bucks having, another 500 yards worth of offense, and
500. They had more offensive yards than the Rams did against the Chiefs. The Rams scored 51 more points than them. Just awful. There was 510 and 501 yards. I think I said it right actually. 501, then 510 yards of offense, and they've lost both games. It's just.
Actually, makes me feel a little bit sick thinking about it.
So we know. I mean, Sky have this running commentary every week now about how awful their tackling is. It's become a bit of a joke to them because they've got Rob Ryan in every week. So whenever he's talking about it, he's like, I in all my years have never seen tackling like this.
Which is really rich coming from Rob Ryan. He was a horrible defensive coordinator.
Oh well, I think he was stained by a couple of really unlucky seasons towards the end of his career. If you were to take his career as a whole, particularly the first half, actually he's held in quite high regard. I think he'll get another job. I think he'll get back.
You think
in.
so?
Yeah,
It's
I
only
know.
2 years out of the.
Yeah, I don't know. I
game.
just have the
Well, I
sneaky
suppose
feeling
how long
that
was
he'll get
Gruden
back
out of
in.
the game for? I suppose.
10 years, but look what happened there.
Yeah, but Gruden at the same time was relevant to an American audience.
Yeah.
You're not relevant to an American audience
Over
when you're
here.
on Sky
True.
Sports.
Yeah, true.
I think just one thing quickly on the Bucks. See, in hindsight, why did they ever go back to Fitzpatrick? Not
Because-
Why
of what
did
he
they
did.
ever go away from him in the first place?
Because of
turnovers.
He had one bad game though.
one
Yeah.
bad half. It wasn't even. They were
They were desperate to
They're
put
so
Winston back
yes,
in.
they're so invested in Winston because he's the first overall pick. That overshadowed everything, and they've broken the flow of what's happened at the team. How many times have you seen in the last couple of years teams that dingle dangle between quarterbacks, and how just that season is an absolute write off because there's no consistency. Sometimes it happens because of injury, and that's fair enough. You can deal with that. But teams like the Bills this year, they dingle dangled with quarterbacks even before Allen got injured. They're having an absolute fucking nightmare. The Browns last season,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to a lesser extent this year, because obviously your favourite guy had the ball to begin with for a few weeks, and then they just chucked in Mayfield, which was going to happen, but I thought they would at least given him 1 year and then put Mayfield in next year.
There's an excuse for it when your season's gone shite already,
Aye.
and then you throw in the next guy to try and build
See
for
what
the
you've got.
future.
Like
has
Baltimore,
happened
and
in-
we'll talk about in a minute, I think.
Well, Baltimore, that's been more triggered through injury.
Yeah.
than
Oh,
actually,
right, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get to
Yeah.
Baltimore.
So
There's
it's
a couple
more
of things in that one.
what's happened in the Jets, or well, no, the Jets he started.
Matt,
Was
But-
injured again.
So
Yeah. But the Cardinals,
Yeah.
the season was going shit. Pull Bradford out, put
Yeah.
Rosen in,
Yep.
build for the future.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the point I was more trying to make was, what are you gaining long term by playing Fitzpatrick over Winston?
Oh, I agree with you. Is that once they had made the decision to put Winston back in, they should have stuck with him.
Yeah, that was the.
Not then
But they
talking
should never
again
have made the
going
decision
back.
to put Winston in at that point.
Yeah, their season was still relevant at that point when they put Winston back in. They
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
okay.
Fitz should have got to finish game 4 just to see what would happen in the second half, and game 5
Yeah, I agree.
minimum. And then as long as he didn't wobble in game 5, then they probably should have just kept going with him.
Yeah.
And then if he hits this point in the season, they're still 3-7 or whatever, and he's then starting to do his interception meltdowns that he's prone to.
Yeah.
Then okay, maybe switch
He's
him
clearly a very streaky guy,
back.
and
When he's hot, he's like
Exactly.
unreal
White
level.
hot.
I mean, this
Yeah.
instant beard growth of brah, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
is there something that the first 3 games he was under no pressure? Couldn't
don't
have been
remember
replaced.
that.
Interesting.
No,
Oh,
I
really?
know, and like,
Oh, right,
there's
okay,
no
okay.
competition for that quarterback.
Yeah,
so
it was
he
his
knows
team.
therefore he's the
Yeah.
guy. I'm not going to get dropped in this game,
Yeah.
so he's just balling out.
What was
Whereas
it? Was it
actually,
after
he's
week
got
2
that
where he did-
pressure with Winston being
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and
I never
he
thought
can't
He
about
cope
knows
with
any
that.
moment, any moment he's going to get yanked. But is that lack of belief from leadership though probably being passed on to him because he knows that they pulled him so quickly in week 4 because they know he's the guy?
Yeah,
Is it as much that as it is the guy over his shoulder? Actually, it's all the management above him as well.
Yeah.
He knows he's in there as a small sticky plaster, and they're just waiting to rip it off.
yeah, probably.
I think Dirk Cotter's days are done in Tampa.
Yeah, I'll go one stage higher. I think Jason Lick. He's
You think
probably done
GM's
as
got
well.
Dark days are over.
Because
Dirk days are over.
see, well, so certainly, head coaching coordinators are done. We know that much anyway. Because maybe not like them. Because talent wise on the field, you go. Do you know what I mean? Just general. You've got Levant David, Con Alexander, and Gerald McCoy and Vita Vea got drafted, and they should be okay.
Yeah.
They can't tackle for shit. That is defensive coordinators' duties, and everyone else to a
Yeah.
lesser degree. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling on it.
They're definitely going to clear house. There's no way that he stays.
Him that he stays. Nah.
Was this season 3 for Cotter? Or season 2? 3. What's it 3?
I want to say 3 as well, but I don't know.
Either way, it's been a
Yeah.
shit show.
Yeah.
Shit show in Tampa.
Yeah.
The ship is sinking.
The
They,
Blazers don't
uh,
sack people easily.
Glazers don't own Tampa, do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Do they? Is it?
Yeah. They owned the Buccaneers before they bought Man.
Oh, did they? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And they stick with a manager.
They do give people time.
They gave going to other football. They gave
Moyes.
Moyes shouldn't have been appointed in the first place, and I actually think they sacked him too quickly just to totally go against my.
I was just thinking that.
Really unpopular, but they gave Van Gaal too long, and a more ruthless regime would have had Jose Mourinho out the door by now as well.
Right, let's get back to the other football.
The American one. They're up. They're at home to San Fran this weekend. That's possibly the only slight possibility of saving their season, I would reckon.
Yep. Okay, cool. Lamar Jackson had a game for the Ravens. We spoke about Flacco's injury.
Well, what is he? Is he a quarterback?
He's a running back.
He's a running back that can throw a bit.
Do you know what he is? He's an offensive weapon.
He's an offensive weapon.
Was that last week we were talking about that? Denard
Yeah.
Robertson and the Jags. Yeah. Nah, I don't know. I'm really wary about. Were we talking about this at the weekend about these athletic quarterbacks? Because it was particularly relevant in yet again. It was the Titans game. Mariota bashed himself up yet again.
Yeah, he got dinged up.
And about how these athletic quarterbacks don't have as long a shelf life as what your established classic drop back sensible passers will have.
Of course they don't, because running backs don't have
No,
a long shelf life because they get beat up. So if you're
as
going to
soon
run
as-
the ball as much as a running back,
Yeah.
you're going to have the wear and tear that a running back
And as
has.
soon as you're running, I think defense. If I was a defensive player and I'm like, that quarterback's past that line, I can clean him out.
Yeah.
I think there's added impetus from
Aiming
the
at his
defense.
shoulder.
Yeah, you go like, I'm just going to buckle him.
Yeah.
More so than you would the running back.
Yeah.
What does this scheme do for him? So obviously the whole team is designed that he's running now. But is that the right thing for Lamar Jackson? Is that just going to actually knock his confidence as a quarterback? Because does it show that they don't trust his arm?
So I think you'll find with most rookie quarterbacks, they are given a condensed playbook. They're never given the full book to run with.
Yes,
So-
you're generally year 2 before you're kind of.
So I
given
think
everything.
with Jackson, it's maybe even less than half a playbook. They'll give him a lot of. I don't think he threw it over 20 yards in that game. So I think you'll find it's a lot of just safety throws to the tight ends or to Michael Crabtree, just these sort of 5-10 yard passes, and because they could still make the wildcard spot, can't they? They're 500.
They're currently in the sixth
and they're about
position
to
at the
play
minute.
the Raiders.
But there's 4 other teams that are 5 and 5. Is really, really jam packed in the middle of the AFC.
Yeah, and anyone who's not totally shit would hump the Raiders. But we're not going to go there.
Oh, I can't believe he's lost the Raiders. I'm going to quickly dive into there before we go back to Baltimore. That's just what the fuck. And I think that's the end of that. You're not back in the hunt for the first overall pick. You don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it.
No, fair play to the Raiders.
Because what the fuck?
Just, no. They should have been a 1-win team all season. And the only potential chance of a win was against you guys.
They have got a bit better recently. Like, they're not as much of a shit show recently. They've got... It's actually quite funny, since they got rid of Bruce Irvin, who a lot of people are like, why the hell are you getting rid of Bruce Irvin? They've improved, which is weird.
We talked about potential for a toxic locker room before, haven't we? We think that's, an added effect. The Jets and a lot of people probably will help improve that.
Yeah,
these younger
Dolphins, and it's obviously something's improved a little bit there after they've jettisoned a few.
Yeah. I just want to quickly go back to Lamar Jackson.
Yes,
Here's a fun stat for you. Ezekiel Elliott in his last season at college was averaging 6.3 yards. 6.3 yards per carry, and finished on 1,821 yards for the season. Lamar Jackson in his last season at college finished on 1,601 yards, averaging 6.9 yards per carry. So he was actually running better than Zeke Elliott at college.
The Ravens hadn't had a 100-yard rushing performance before Sunday. Lamar Jackson was their first 100-yard rusher this season.
Unbelievable.
And now they had 200-yard rushers on Sunday.
As a team, they nearly got 300 yards rushing in a game, which is just unreal nowadays, really. But that's probably benefit of playing the Bengals. Their defense has been really shoddy. Coordinator got fired.
Marvin Lewis was their defensive coordinator, and that one of the other podcasts that I listened to said it was the worst defensive performance the Bengals have had all season.
And that says something when your last 3 games you've gone for over 500.
The guy actually said they would have been better playing the exact same scheme that they did against the Saints when they got torched.
Yeah.
They were playing, so there was one of the guys actually said that the Bengals safeties were playing in the car park. That's how far back they were.
Brilliant.
And not only that, so Jackson didn't throw over 20 yards once, and they were still playing really deep safeties the full game.
What the hell?
Crazy.
Crazy.
Marvin Lewis is probably done as well, I'd say.
I don't know whether he upped him last year. We thought he was gone last season. Me and you, Gav,
They've
were
not.
blathering about
They
it.
have just not improved.
They've not.
I know they've had a few injuries and whatnot.
Talk about owners that stick with coaches for a while, though. That definitely happens in Cincinnati.
And it's it is good to see that they're giving people time, but there's also a time when that expires. And I
In
think
fact, you've got what? No playoff wins.
no
Have they
playoff
still got
win.
no playoff wins?
No.
They were 1 and done in the playoffs, I think, 5 years in a row. They seem to be drawn against the Texans 3 years in the trot, and the Texans killed them. It was hilarious. So, yeah, they just doesn't quite have that next level. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. One other thing I thought that was interesting from the weekend was the Cowboys beating the Falcons.
Well, this is the one that blew your coupon, eh? At the beginning.
No, I didn't have that. I had.
Did you not put that one in?
It was the Chargers and the Lions that blew the bet, which was 2 stick-ons, but I'll get to that later. The Cowboys beating the Falcons in Atlanta to now go 500.
Yeah.
They're now back in the hunt for the NFC.
Are they though?
Well, the Redskins are
The
6
NFC
and 4.
East.
The NFC East, yeah. So
Yeah,
for the
division,
okay, yeah.
division only.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to do anything in January, that's a different story. But
they probably go straight out if they make the playoffs. But
Yeah.
they're now in that race when they
they're
win.
in the hunt.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Okay.
benefits of the way it's set up is that you can have a weak division, but they've all got a chance of winning that division and getting in anyway. It still makes it quite entertaining.
And they lose against a wildcard team.
Yeah, but it's
Probably.
more frequent than normal.
Yeah.
Probably.
Sorry.
So yeah, I think it's quite interesting how just a couple of weeks ago we were saying, was Garrett's time done? Really calling them out, and it looks like they've sort of bounced back, and it's no surprise that they've gone back to Zeke. Because that, for whatever reason, seemed to have stopped.
Yeah.
They weren't using them as much.
Some nonsense play calling. They changed the O-line coordinator a couple of weeks ago as
they
well,
went to
interestingly enough.
former Cowboys player, wasn't it? I can't remember his name.
I
but
can't remember, but rather than... Because there was discussions about whether they were going to remove Scott Linehan, the actual offensive coordinator, and in the end just changed the lineman coach. They've now won 2 since, so...
Slight adjustments,
wait
isn't it?
and see, wait and see. And I mean, their O-line should be in the top 5.
Yeah, easy.
Even losing Fredericks.
Easy.
He's got feeling back in his extremities now, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll be back this season, but he might be ready for next season.
Yeah. One other thing I thought that was really interesting from that game is Leighton Vander Esch absolutely went on a tear, and again, one of the other podcasts, this isn't my opinion, stated that they actually think that they don't need Sean Lee back, which is quite an interesting call. They think that Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch are now doing enough in the last 3 games to say you don't need to rely on Sean Lee, which is quite big for considering how important he is to a locker room.
But we all know Jerry's going to sign him for another 3-year deal, so it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, it's all going to happen. Cool. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Colts game.
Oh, well,
Andrew Luck.
so I watched that one. Yeah, he is just taking the piss
Streaking.
with you at the minute.
He's ludicrous.
So what's your...
So what is that? Was that his 7th consecutive game with 3
or more touchdowns.
Yeah. Only... No, so what is it on... So within a season, there's only 2 other people that have done longer.
Yes.
That was Manning in 2004, I want to say.
Yeah. And Brady
in 2007, which was
Brady has
the undefeated season. So.
Yeah, so Brady has the record at 10, I think.
Yeah, 10.
Over the course of... as just an outright streak, Dan Marino's still ahead of him with 8.
Yes. So they play the Dolphins.
Yeah, so he could
Sunday.
equal Marino's record against the
Marino's
Dolphins.
team. Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
But no, he's playing really well. The O-line has not given up a sack in 5 consecutive
Yeah, that's
games.
awesome.
It's nearly 6 because it was in the first play of the game prior that they gave up a sack, and they were clean for the rest of that game as well. That is ridiculous. You think about how awful the Colts have been for the last 3 seasons. Generally speaking, luck has been the only good thing before he got injured about that team. They've been in just perennial hell, really. Something's changed this year.
Yeah. And,
is it Quentin Nelson? And
yeah.
So you got fined $26,000 for that. Nightmare. Anyway, sorry.
I was going to say on the offensive line, another stat I seen was Andrew Luck has only been hit, not sacked. So the stage before a sack, a hit 7 times in the last 5 games. That's insane.
That is ridiculous.
So he's only been touched by defenses 7 times.
Wow.
That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
I think
O-line doing their very best to protect that arm.
Second.
Did you see the Eric Ebron play? The Philly special.
Yeah. Oh, it was just, it wasn't quite as bad as Brady's attempt at a catch, but it wasn't far behind. He was a bit like trying to dive for it way too far.
If you're the Colts owners or Frank Reich, the head coach, you're like, why is he diving like that?
Oh, somebody's going to be on the phone and be like, do not ever call that ever again. What are you doing? You utter muppets.
Because he literally, he properly hyperextended his arms out to try and catch it. It was still awful, but he really tried to get it.
And he still was at least a metre off. Yeah. It wasn't even close.
So yeah,
29 touchdowns he's on this season now. We said it a couple of weeks ago, we absolutely nailed on comeback player of the year.
Yes.
Even before this streak carries on.
Yep.
But they're trending the right way. Everything's going right for them. Potential of yet another win in the bag. Well, not in the bag, I don't want to call it too early, but if they go in and beat the Dolphins, they then got a positive record. They're right behind the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans are
7-3.
7-3, and the Colts are 5-5.
Yeah, they're still 2 wins behind, but more for the wild card as well, because that there's 5 teams that are on 5-5, and all. It's only tiebreakers that are meaning the Ravens are in that 6th spot at the moment.
Yeah, so
it's going to be really juicy coming down to the wire, I think, and the Colts are trending in the right direction, which is nice to see.
Just around a couple of quick upsets that happened as well. The Broncos beating the Chargers 23-22.
Didn't see that coming.
Fun stat for everybody. Chargers have lost 12 of the last 15 games against the Broncos.
Wow.
That includes playoffs.
Just like card is marked. You have a bogey team.
Yeah. Kev, enjoy that.
Did they not? They outscored them in yardage by something ridiculous as well, about 150 yards.
I don't know the stats off the top
time
of my
possession. I think the Broncos only had the ball for about 22 minutes of the game. Everything. If you look at it statistically and took the score away, you're looking at this and you're like, oh yeah, Chargers won this easy by 2 clear touchdowns, no brainer. But
I
didn't.
I wonder if they're just going to be one of these teams that are never going to actually
get there.
They
have all the ability to get there.
Well,
They've got the right pieces at the right time, but something's going to hold them back.
And it looks like their defense isn't as good as it should be. I know Joey Bosa said that was his first game back, so he'll get a bit of time. But yeah, I just feel like they're not there.
Just don't have the clutch.
No. And they've got, when you think of it, Phil Rivers is an awesome quarterback. Keenan Allen's a good wide receiver. Melvin Gordon, the offensive line's decent.
Chuck them in the same bucket as the Falcons right now. Again, the same. This season's a bit different because of the defensive nightmare they had with injuries, but they have all the potential. They have the stadium, the right organisation. Everyone's going.
Injuries is very much a Chargers thing generally, isn't it?
Up until this year, they've been
okay this year.
Other than losing Hunter Henry in pre-season, which was a bit
and obviously Bosa for a long while. But
right enough, he was out most of the season, more than half the season anyway.
Yeah, so it's not looking good for them. I wouldn't fancy them to beat any of the other teams if they were to play the Rams, the Saints, whoever. Would not fancy them at all. I just don't think they've got it.
I wouldn't fancy anyone against the Saints.
That's true. That was a blowout. Another blowout, we might add.
So that was the heaviest defeat ever suffered by a reigning Super Bowl champion.
Wow.
The Eagles are looking likely to be only the 7th side to have a losing record after winning the Super Bowl.
Oof. Stat. Like it.
Wow. You know what I loved about that?
They're
that
trending
game?
the wrong way. I don't think they're making it at all now.
The thing I loved about that game was the touchdown Alvin Kamara got, the 4th and 7 play that they just didn't have to do. They didn't have to throw it, but they threw it anyway on 4th and 7. They were so far ahead. It was just like
I love it.
They just did not give a fuck.
Love it.
No.
We don't care for your feelings. We're here to trample you into the ground.
It was literally like that.
Now, there is some kind of weird, almost gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, there
that
is.
You're not allowed to run up a score on another team. Go for the win, you can have the win, but don't beat anyone by more than, say, 3 touchdowns. It's almost like this stupid unwritten rule.
Yeah,
I fucking love this ruthlessness that's starting to come in the NFL.
Yeah.
Sean Payton is, because he crucified the Bengals, and he didn't really ease up on them 2 weeks ago. And then he's done the same again this week against the Eagles. The game's so far in the bag, and he's like,
Yeah, 4th and 7. Fuck it, we want a touchdown.
Yeah. I ain't running the ball and punting this away. Boom, straight in. Morstead, you get another week off. Right, sunshine. Did he punt at all this week?
There was.
One.
I'm sure there
I
was.
don't remember the stats, but
It was nothing. I could think I could be bothered, but it doesn't matter. It was just more whether because he did.
Yeah, because we commented. I'm sure there was.
He
Yeah, he hadn't punted something like.
because you put
since the
a
first
great
quarter.
stat in about all the drives that the Saints had from the 3 drives at the end before the Bengals game, the entire Bengals game, and the first 3 drives.
Yeah.
And it was like touchdown, field goal, touchdown, 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 field goal,
Yeah.
touchdown, touchdown.
End of half.
End of half. It was an amazing run of every possession was a score. It was just brutal.
And when you look at the Saints, their full offense is so balanced. Their offensive line is fantastic.
Only given up 9 sacks. Was that before this week? I don't know if they gave up any in Philadelphia.
I don't know the stat off the top of my head.
They were top. They were 1 ahead of the Colts. Yeah.
You've got Kamara and Ingram, so you can do
Yep.
whatever you want to do with those two. You've got Michael Thomas, arguably the best receiver in the league right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got Traquan Smith. Fun fact about Traquan Smith: 3rd round pick in the draft, and at his time at college, he only dropped 1.7% of his passes, and that is
Safe hands. Safe hands.
That is extremely safe.
1.7%, and
We think we're praising Michael Thomas at his 90-odd%,
Yeah.
catch rate.
98%.
Yeah, basically that's what it's good in college. If he replicates that at the next level up, that's something unreal.
I don't know the number of targets, but his total yards at 3 years at college were 2,748, averaging 16.4 yards a play. And he only dropped 1.7% of that. That's crazy. That's like under the radar crazy.
Yeah.
And the Saints picked him up in the 3rd round. So is that maybe one of the draft steals that we didn't really know about?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Saints. Do you think they'll win it?
Yeah. I've said this already. And
Yeah,
they
you
are,
got a couple of weeks ago, before the ridiculous beatdowns of the last 2 weeks, you already had earmarked them.
One amazing tweet I seen was if the Saints beat the Falcons on Thursday night, someone needs to phone animal recruitment because
I know which one you're on about. It's
because they would have
amazing.
murdered the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Bengals.
I don't like and the Jaguars and the Lions. And, do you know what I mean? It was just like they were just going on about all the teams that had animal names.
It was awesome, absolutely awesome. Cool, yeah. I don't know how we got back onto the Saints. I want to talk about teams that were.
Well, we hadn't spoken about the Saints.
Okay,
so
that's fair. That's fair.
we just casually flowed in. You kids were doing your segue thing.
So yeah, the only other shock that happened the weekend was the Lions beating the Panthers. May as well just go to the 2-point play. I don't know if you both seen it or not.
Yeah,
I'm sure we had.
Triple boxed on red zone because
Yeah.
Sky had the coverage for the Colts game had finished because that one ramped up dead early. So they jumped to red zone for the last end. So I was watching the triple box of the Steelers getting away with murder in Florida, and I could have gone real down a dark hole there, but I'm not going to bother.
I'm glad we didn't.
Yes, let's not.
There was that quote. No, I'm not.
No,
gonna say it.
we're not going there. We don't want sued.
We
What
try
were we talking about before that? My head just gone into the really
We were
wrong place
talking
now.
about
Panthers
the
2-point conversion.
play.
Oh, so we were. Yeah, and that was one of the plays that was on in the Dribble Ball.
but-
Going back to the thing I just said about 2 minutes ago about people being more ruthless, I'm not against it. It doesn't bother me.
I'm pro
It
2-point
doesn't
conversions.
bother me. I get it's all hindsight's always this is why you kick the extra point. That's kind of been a run-in thing over the last, particularly this season, a lot is that's why you always kick the extra point. How many missed points have they got this season though? It's way higher than normal.
Well, Graham Gano has already missed
Exactly.
in that game.
So
Yeah.
I get it. And
I can see it.
they call him Riverboat Ron because he's a gambler. And yeah.
I think the
I
I'm not
argued
against
against this when the Titans did it on what was the last play of the game. It was their last chance. Was there a bit more time left in this
they
game?
would have to have turned
Yeah.
it over.
They would have.
Yeah. A minute and 7 to go, I think, was when they
So yeah, they would have had to have turned it over. In fact, no.
They tried an onside kick, did they not?
They had to get the onside kick.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Because they actually
They had no
the
time
criticism
left
was
as
it
well,
was
I'm sure.
the criticism was well, fair enough they'd got the 2-point conversion, but they left enough time on the clock for
Stafford to go down and
and kick and
Get into
considering
field
he
goal
is
range.
since
Yeah.
2011 he is the all-time leader in fourth quarter
And their
comebacks.
defense
You
hadn't
couldn't
been
argue against that.
that
Really,
good.
he is when it calls to clutch fourth quarter
Yeah.
comebacks. Stafford's right up there. Give him all the heat you want. You know that is a statistic he owns and he owns healthily.
the thing with the 2-point conversion was it was a bad play by Cam. The receiver was wide open and he missed him. He overshot him.
Yeah.
And he also could have ran it in. He didn't have to throw it.
Mm.
There was a gap there, so it was more, I think, on Newton rather than the call.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking as well, and this is a really simple way of thinking of it, but at that point you're 50-50 to win the game. In the sense of if you get your 2-point conversion, you either do or you don't. If you go to overtime, there's 3 potential outcomes. You win, you lose, or you draw. And the only one that actually helps you is to win, so you drop down to 33%. So maybe, I know that's a really simple way of looking at it, but because I think a lot of people are saying like these ties are actually worse for people's records than the loss, which is a bit strange, or not that they're as bad, but they don't really benefit anybody in any way, shape or form. So that's
Tell you
why.
they don't benefit. Idiot fans like me that hate them when it comes to trying to figure out where teams sit in tiebreakers. Fucking just give me wins and losses, man. It's much easier.
It is strange. You think they should just keep going until someone wins, really, but
Yeah, next goal wins.
effectively.
Do they still do that in ice hockey? I know they did for a while. I think they had to be a team that won or something.
The last time
Remember
I
when-
watched ice hockey was
You
the
don't
Mighty
watch
Ducks. So
Remember when they had golden goal in football? Oh God.
yeah.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, that was awful.
Get that.
Very short-lived experiment.
Okay, so anything else we want to talk about from the weekend? Anyone come across anything good?
I got a tiny thing that I put
Well,
in the chat. That
don't
said
we know
that? Oh. Don't call it Steve's
you
tiny
went
thing,
there.
please don't. Right, you know how I dropped in the chat that about McVeigh after his win on Monday night means he's gone to 21-6 record.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, let me see if I take his record. How many years do you have to go back for other teams for them to match it? So if we go, so obviously McVeigh came in the 2017 season, so you've got every
Season and a
team's
half.
season and a half. So where does everyone place on that? He's sitting on 21. Interestingly, actually, the Saints, the Pats, and the Steelers are on 20. They're only one game behind, and Chiefs are on 19, and then there's a couple of teams behind that. So if you add in the 2016 season, about half the field gets taken out because they're win records. But there's still quite a lot of teams that are, don't have that many wins as McVeigh has, given the whole extra season. Let's add the 2015 season in. We have the Browns.
Obviously.
At
how many?
Browns only have 7. Browns are at 7. The Giants are at 17. Raiders are at 17. Broncos are at 10. Bears are... No, not Broncos. Anyway, doesn't matter. Right, because I'm reading this all wrong. The point what I was going to make was it's when you add in the 2015 season as well. So you give every team 2 extra whole years of their wins, and there's still 2 teams that cannot beat McVeigh in what he's done in the season and a half.
That's awesome, isn't
And
it?
that is the Browns and the 49ers. 49ers get away with it if you add in the 2014 season, because they got 8 wins then. The Browns don't though. They're still behind.
Oh my god.
So how far back do you have to go to get 21 wins for the Cleveland Browns?
If you take all the wins from this season and everything, including the 2013 season, they still don't have enough. You have to take in the 2012 season.
Oh my god.
As a period of utter futility, it is so black and white how bad they have been compared to everyone
Oh
else.
my good god.
So there's a wee bit of work that I did not do this morning. Just
It's okay.
didn't do that. Did I say that
It's a
earlier?
microphone, not a
Yes.
camera, Stephen.
It's not gonna hurt you.
Anyway, so that was just a wee...
He was showing his laptop to the microphone just so he could see.
I'm showing it to you guys! No, microphone.
It was a strange sitch for everyone.
It's callback. Deserved that one.
Cool. Right, so just to wrap things up,
You going to talk about bets this
yeah,
week?
that's what I'm going to talk about. So last week, 3 out of 5 bets came in, and the two bets that didn't come in were the 2 bets I was most confident in, which was the Chargers to beat the Broncos. I still don't understand how it happened, but it did. And the Panthers to beat the Lions, again, still don't understand how it did. So every other bet came in. I was really confident in the Giants, and that came in. So this week I have gone for... I've increased the odds a little bit, so if this wins, we're in more cash.
You say we. You're not using my
Well,
money, so.
I
am.
But I've dedicated that when we win the first bet, it'll go to anyone that follows us on Twitter. So anyone that, once it wins, will retweet it. If you retweet it, you'll get the cash.
Okay.
So, yeah, the bets for this week. Let me just bring up the full fixtures, because I've only got who will win. So to start off with, it's the Jags to beat the Bills. I think that's... The Jags showed enough last week against the Steelers that they look like they're close to being back on track. It was a couple of strange plays from the Jags, like the one for Antonio Brown in the fourth quarter where they let him loose is just bizarre. So I'm not sure how that happened, but because up until then Jalen Ramsey had been playing absolutely lights out. So yeah, I fancy the Jags to beat the Bills, and also when you take into consideration how bad the Bills actually are, it seemed like a no-brainer. The Patriots minus 5.5 points to beat the New York Jets. I would fancy just about anyone minus 5.5 points to beat the New York Jets right now. They're that
Not
bad.
the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, maybe not the Cardinals.
Most.
Just about anyone.
Most teams.
Everyone apart from...
Yeah. Steelers to beat the Broncos. The Steelers are on a bit of a win streak. The Broncos did get a good win, but I think this is a key game for the Steelers.
Is it in Pittsburgh? No, it's in Denver.
It's in Denver, so I do think...
Yeah, they're going to march into Mile High and cause havoc.
I do think they'll have enough to get right, and I think you'll see a get right game from James Conner.
Jane Pittsburgh, last week was their bad week, as in, and they'll bounce back, which actually makes them a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, I think they were really bad up until the fourth quarter in that game. So I think they'll react to that and that won't happen again. So I fancy the Steelers to beat the Broncos. Seahawks to score over 18.5 points against the Panthers. Seahawks put 27 points against the Packers last week, and they're actually quite a high scoring team. They're kind of under the radar, so for the Seahawks I think that's quite a good bet. And yeah, they put good points up against the Rams as well, so if they can do that, then I'm confident they'll do the same against the Panthers. And just finally, Indianapolis Colts minus 5.5 points against the Dolphins. So to win by a touchdown or more. They're smashing teams right now. So again, I really fancy that. £10 on that this week pays back £81.60. So again, only need at this rate, 3 of these to come up and we'll be in profit over the full season. Next year will be a better gauge for it because I'll actually track it all and work it all out. But yeah, so that's my tips for this week. But as ever, the NFL is a crazy game, as we've seen with some of the results this week. So
Is there some kind of weird liability thing you have to now say?
I was just going to say, bet responsibly.
Yeah, we cannot be held personally responsible for anyone who does choose to place their own money following Gav's tips.
I mean, I don't know why people listen.
Tips, TIPS. Just
not a Z.
Everyone knew that, Stephen.
Yeah.
Just in case it sounded like I said tits.
I thought you were being down with the kids again and you were going to use a Z rather than an S.
Yeah, I'll shut up. It's Rib on Steve episode, really, isn't it?
House Wrath with a Z.
HAUZRAFF.
House Wrath, yeah.
House Wrath in the house.
Please start coming to work with gold chains. Do it.
Swagging about.
Come in like Deshaun Jackson. What are your chains? Gold rings. It'll be amazing.
Like what Fitzpatrick did.
Yeah. Do it.
Brilliant.
You won't look out of place. I promise. Okay, so as ever, it's been a great episode. We love this crazy game. But again, special thanks out to Stobie for saving the day. Good guy.
Without him, we would not be here.
Yeah, so sign off, Andrew. Where can we get us?
You get us at the AF Cast on Twitter or the American Fitbaw Cast on Facebook.
And a quick thanks to everyone at Britpod Scene and everyone who has reviewed us recently on the old iTunes. Much appreciated.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
You've been listening to another great podcast from the Fair City Podcast Network, a group dedicated to connecting and developing podcasts. Check out fcpod.net for more great podcasts and content.